No, Nikola Jokic, I'm being serious. I don't know if you can find a better offensive prime for a 6-year stretch right now. I genuinely think he could have won the MVP for 6 years in a row. He has 3 MVPs right now. I think he got snubbed when Embiid won it a few years ago. I think he got snubbed last year. I was very adamant that he should have won the MVP last season, but obviously SGA got it done. And I feel like we're going to witness another robbery. Nikola Jokic is having such a great season, yet people are going to give it to SGA. And the fact that he's the runaway favorite too, like the fact that there's no debate, even though Jokic is making history, he's going at Wemby, who's right now number 2 in terms of total odds.
Nikola Jokic is fully back, and that is the biggest reason the whole NBA should be worried right now. This is not just about one great game, and it is not just about one crazy stat line. Yes, 40 points, 13 assists, and 0 turnovers against one of the hardest defenders in basketball is insane by itself. But the real story is what that game means. It means the version of Jokic that looked a little slow, a little messy, and a little out of rhythm after the injury is gone. The version that has returned is the one Denver trusts more than anything. Calm, sharp, patient, and completely in control. And with the playoffs getting close, that changes everything. For a while, people forgot just how scary Jokic looks when he is fully right. Not because he stopped being a great player, because he never did. Even when he was not at his best, he was still putting up numbers that most stars could only dream about. But with Jokic, the standard is different. People do not judge him like a normal player. They judge him against the best version of himself, and that version is almost unfair. It is the version that controls every part of the game without forcing anything, the version that never looks rushed, the version that can score, rebound, pass, and break apart a defense without ever seeming like he is trying too hard. That is the version Denver saw again, and if that version is really back for good, then the rest of the league has a serious problem. To understand why this matters so much, you have to go back to how Jokic was playing before the injury. Through the first part of the season, he looked like the clear best player in basketball. Night after night, he was doing things that barely looked real. He was scoring close to 30 points a game, grabbing rebounds like a center, and passing like one of the best guards in the league. And he was doing it with amazing shooting. That is what made it feel so unreal. It was not just big numbers, it was clean, easy, smooth basketball. He was not taking wild shots or chasing stats. He was just
They're both very impressive, but one holds a little more weight to me, and that is Nikola Jokic, because he's doing it in a multitude of ways. I don't know what the criteria is for the MVP anymore. This is kind of my final point here. With so many different players that had great years this year, SGA obviously, the Joker obviously, Wemby, who has better odds than Nikola Jokic, which is absolutely insane to me. Jaylen Brown in the East, he's been doing some really great things for the Celtics. I think he deserves a lot more love. But I was so confused why Luka didn't have more love. And obviously he hurt his hamstring. He might not even be eligible for the award. But guys, like Luka in the month of March averaged over 37 points a game.
Trolling games. Everything Denver did started with him, and almost everything good that happened flowed through his hands. Then came Christmas Day, and Jokic gave everybody one of those games that forces you to stop and just stare at the box score. 56 points, 16 rebounds, 15 assists, and an overtime win against Minnesota. That is not a normal superstar game. That is the kind of performance that reminds people they are watching one of the most special players ever. And what made it even crazier was that he did not lose himself in the scoring. A lot of players can score big when they take over everything. Jokic was still passing, still creating, still making the right play. He did not trade one part of his game for another. He gave you everything at once. It felt like he had reached another level, and for a moment it looked like nobody in the league had an answer. That is why what happened next felt so strange. Just a few days later against Miami, everything changed from one awkward landing. It was not a huge dramatic moment. It was just one of those normal basketball plays that suddenly becomes a major story because of how bad the ending looks. A player came down on Jokic's foot. His knee bent the wrong way, and you could tell right away something was off. He went down, stayed there for a moment, and then had to limp off. The mood changed instantly. When a player like Jokic goes down, nobody in Denver is thinking about one game. They are thinking about the whole season. The injury turned out to be a hyperextended left knee with a bone bruise. It was not season-ending, but it was serious enough to take him out for a month. Just like that, 16 games were gone. And while Denver did a decent job staying afloat without him, that was never the real point. Sure, the team had some good moments. Jamal Murray stepped up, other players gave them solid minutes. They stayed competitive, but nobody was truly relaxed. Everybody was waiting for one thing only: Jokic coming back and looking like Jokic again. That was the only thing that mattered, because Denver's ceiling is always tied to what version of Jokic is on the floor.
This season is so good, so ridiculous, that Nikola Jokic is setting to break his own all-time NBA record in box plus minus. And look, many of you guys do not know exactly what box plus minus is. Let me try my best to explain it very simplistically for you at this point. NBA box plus minus is a box score derived metric estimating a player's contribution to their team. It is a rate stat with minus 2.0 representing a replacement level player.
Before the defense could fix itself, the ball was already on the way. That is what makes him different. He sees the game one step ahead, especially when the pressure is highest. In overtime, it became his game completely. The jumper over Wembanyama, the soft touch shot over that long reach, the control, the balance, and then the dagger floater late to close it out. Those are not just big plays, those are proof. Proof that the touch is back, proof that the timing is back, proof that the body and mind are working together again. And when you add the final stat line, 40 points, 13 assists, 0 turnovers, it becomes even more powerful. 0 turnovers is the key. That is the part that says everything, because turnovers were the clearest sign that something was off before. Now, against one of the hardest matchups in basketball, in a long game with huge pressure, he gave the ball away 0 times. That is terrifying if you are the rest of the league, because it means the problem that had shown up after the injury may already be solved. It means the delay in his reads is gone. It means the body is no longer holding the brain back. It means he can once again play his full game without compromise. And when Jokic can do that, there may not be a real answer for him. Teams can try size, they can try speed, they can double, they can crowd the paint, they can pressure the ball, but fully healthy Jokic solves almost everything eventually. That is why this moment feels bigger than one win. It feels like the end of a question. The question was never whether Jokic was still great. Of course he was. The question was whether the very best version of him had returned after the injury, whether the player who was tearing through the league before Christmas was still there, whether Denver could trust that same force going into the biggest part of the season. After that Spurs game, the answer looked very clear. Yes, he is back. And if he is back, then Denver changes instantly from a very good team into a team nobody wants to see in a playoff series. Because playoff basketball is about trust. Trust in your star, trust in your late-game offense, trust that when things get tight, someone can calm everything down and make the right play over and over. Jokic gives Denver all of that. He is not just their best scorer or passer, he is their center of gravity. When he is fully right, everybody settles in around him. The game slows down for Denver and speeds up for the other team at the same time. That is a nightmare to face in a 7-game series.
Jokic, I want to read you his stat line from last night, people. Nikola Jokic, had 35 points, 14 rebounds, 13 assists, and 5 steals.
That's it. And we're used to it.
Just another night at the office, right?
Just
Like no one even
night.
stops.
Yeah.
Let me just take a look at the standings here. This is where we stand. The Nuggets now pass up the Lakers, so they're in the 3 spot. Lakers are half a game back. We got the rest of the week to figure it out. But make your point about Nikola Jokic, because they're good.
What makes it even scarier is that Jokic does not need to look dramatic to destroy you. He does not need flashy moves or loud celebrations. He just keeps making the correct decision until the defense has nothing left. He'll hit the floater, then find the cutter, then grab the rebound, then walk into a post-up, then kick out to a shooter, then score again when you overhelp. Little by little, he takes control of everything. And by the time a team realizes how deep the problem is, the game is already leaning his way. So when people say the scariest version of Jokic just returned, it is not only because he had 40 points against San Antonio. It is because of what that game confirmed. It confirmed that the rough stretch after the injury was not the new normal. It confirmed that the slow steps, the late reads, the strange turnovers, and the slight loss of touch were part of recovery, not decline. It confirmed that when his body feels right, his game still rises to that rare level almost nobody else can touch. Now the playoffs are close, Denver is building momentum, and Jokic looks like the player who can carry a title run again. That should make every contender nervous, because there are great players in this league, and then there are players who can control an entire series with their brain, their pace, and their skill. Jokic is in that second group, and when he is sharp, confident, and healthy, he turns basketball into something almost unfair. That is the real story here. Not just one monster night, not just another great box score. The real story is that the fear around Denver is back for a reason. Nikola Jokic looks like himself again, maybe even a little stronger because of everything he had to play through to get here. The injury slowed him down for a while. The mistakes made people wonder. The rough patch gave the league a small bit of hope, but that hope may be gone now, because the version of Jokic that just showed up is the one that sees every mistake, punishes every choice, and stays calm while everyone else feels the pressure. That is the version that wins playoff games. That is the version that breaks defenses, and that is the version that makes Denver believe they can beat anybody in front of them. If this is really the Jokic we're getting from here on out, then the whole playoff picture just got a lot more dangerous.
That is where the quiet doubt started creeping in. Nobody wanted to say it too loudly because talking like that about a player like Jokic sounds crazy, but it was there. People started wondering if this was just what the post-injury version would look like. Not bad, still very good, maybe even great, but just a little less sharp than before. And with a player whose peak is so high, even a small drop feels huge. That was the fear. Not that Jokic had suddenly become ordinary, but that maybe the most dangerous version of him had been interrupted at the worst possible time. Then, late in March, everything started changing again. And the first sign was not just the numbers, it was how he looked moving around the court. He seemed lighter, quicker into his moves, stronger in his balance, more certain with the ball. The hesitation was leaving. The game that had looked just a bit crowded for him before suddenly started opening back up. That is the beauty of watching Jokic closely. Sometimes the clearest sign he's back is not a crazy scoring outburst. It's the way he controls space, the way he seems to know what is coming before it happens, the way the whole game starts feeling simple again. Against Phoenix, Denver needed a big one, and Jokic delivered. He put up 23 points, 17 rebounds, and 17 assists, and then hit the game winner late. That kind of performance does not just tell you a player is productive, it tells you his feel is back. It tells you the touch is back. It tells you the pace is back. Then the very next night against Dallas, he somehow went even further with 23 points, 21 rebounds, and 19 assists. That is the kind of stat line that barely sounds real when you say it out loud. And when someone does that on back-to-back nights, it tells you something important. It tells you the body is responding. It tells you the conditioning is coming back. It tells you the version that looked off is fading away fast. That stretch changed the whole conversation. Suddenly, it was no longer about whether Jokic had fully returned. It was about how far this new run could go. Denver started stacking wins. The offense had life again. The ball moved with purpose. Jokic was making fast reads, hitting touch shots, controlling the glass, and turning every defensive mistake into an easy look for somebody. That is when Denver becomes dangerous in the biggest way. Not just when Jokic scores, but when he bends the whole game until the defense has no good answers left. And then came the final moments, and this is where you could really see that the full version of Jokic had returned. Denver was down late, pressure high, every possession huge, and Jokic never looked rushed. He knocked down clutch free throws. He saw the floor clearly. Then came that perfect pass to Aaron Gordon for the tying dunk. It happened so fast. One small mistake by the Spurs, one tiny opening, and Jokic hit it instantly. When he finally returned, the first game made it seem like everything was fine. He came back against the Clippers, played limited minutes, and still dropped 31 points, 12 rebounds, and 5 assists in a comfortable win.